On the back of 2022, which was a record year for hiring, not only was it an incredible year for hiring for private practice, both in terms of partners and associates, but also the amount of money that those associates especially were getting. We saw pay hikes almost monthly going, 2001 going into 2022 and onwards. So on the back of that, 2023, most firms were essentially full, and they filled themselves up on the back of a heavy deal year, to find that in 2023 those deals dried up. So we saw almost very little M&A, certainly large-scale M&A deals, certainly large US PE firms or other entities investing into cross-border deals with China. The IPO market was incredibly quiet. One of the quietest. I believe we dropped to 8th in the world, from a few years ago, obviously being first. And the IPO market and the M&A that goes with that is often what feeds the other areas of law firms, and indeed feeds the general economy in Hong Kong. That meant that there was very limited hiring. A lot of firms were actually on hiring freezes. So even if areas that were busy wanted to hire, they couldn't. There were a few exceptions made, kind of, off the record as such, where there was supposed to be a hiring freeze, but certain partners were able to persuade those powers that be that they were able to make a hire into their team. But that was, that was very few and far between. Associates, really, there was very little movement last year. And headhunters, certainly, what movement there was, a lot of it didn't involve headhunters. But there was still enough to kind of, tick over as such, but very, very limited. I would say the worst associate market I've seen in Hong Kong. I've been in here since the beginning of 2010. And I would say probably by far the worst associate hiring market that I've seen. Pockets of hiring, some in employment, restructuring, little bit in litigation, some in regulatory areas, but pockets really. And I suppose in terms of firms hiring, some of the smaller firms who aren't so reliant on the IPO market, able to make some decent hires from larger firms or take people who've been laid off, which was something to their advantage. Again, perhaps in litigation, some of the litigation firms that only do litigation grew. We saw some of the smaller firms with perhaps a slightly different structure to other firms have some success in hiring and growing last year. So, it wasn't all doom and gloom. On the partner side, we saw well over 60 partners move last year. We counted well over 60. Unfortunately, we didn't place all of them ourselves, but we placed a decent percentage of them, which was good because, as I say, the associate market was incredibly tough. And again, that was actually spread across a lot of different areas, including corporate and including IPO. There were a number of movements in those areas. So, in a bad market, there are a lot of reasons for partners to move. They may move because their platform is leaving town, or the platform just can't sustain them anymore. They may move because the platform's not doing well. They don't want to be funding the other partners when they can move to a more successful platform. Or they might move for the same reasons that partners move in any market. But we do see, we have seen a lot of partner moves, and some of them very notable. There's been quite a few headlines about some of the larger ones. So that was kind of a high point. I say a high point, there's certainly been better years for partner moves, but it was a high point for the private practice recruitment teams this year. I think, that the ones who do a decent amount of partner search were not too bad. For private practice, that was really the market for 2023.